You've been told to skip breakfast, train on an empty stomach, push through the hunger, and your body will burn more fat. So, you tried it. And instead of leaning out, you felt exhausted, your sleep got worse, and that stubborn belly fat didn't budge. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most popular nutrition advice was built on research done on men. And when women follow it, their bodies often do the exact opposite of what they want. Your hormones aren't broken. Your strategy is. By the end of this video, you'll understand 6 science-backed nutrition and fasting principles designed specifically for female biology, so you can stop fighting your body and finally start working with it. Let's start with the one that might surprise you the most: eating before you exercise. We've all heard the idea that if you work out first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, your body has no choice but to burn fat. And for men, that actually does seem to work reasonably well. But for women, it backfires. Here's why. Within about 30 minutes of waking up, your cortisol naturally spikes. That's your stress hormone, and it's not a bad thing. It's what helps you wake up and feel alert. But if you don't eat anything to bring that cortisol back down, your body stays in what's called a catabolic state. That means it's breaking things down instead of building them up. Now here's where it gets interesting. Think of your hypothalamus, that little control center in your brain, like a paranoid office manager. When a male manager sees an empty supply closet, he shrugs and says, "We'll just get more efficient." When a female manager sees that same empty closet, she panics. She locks everything down because she might need it later. And then she starts dismantling the furniture for firewood. That's essentially what happens in a woman's body during fasted training. Your brain senses no fuel coming in, and instead of burning fat, it holds on to fat and starts breaking down muscle. The exact opposite of what you want. Your muscle fibers are normally fantastic at switching between carbs and fat for fuel, but under fasting stress, that flexibility disappears. So the fix is simple. Within 30 minutes of waking, eat a small amount. If you're doing resistance training, aim for about 15 grams of protein. If you're doing cardio, add about 30 grams of carbs on top of that. It's not a big meal. It's just enough to tell your brain that fuel is coming in, so it can focus on building instead of hoarding. Now this next one is going to sound strange. Want to sleep better tonight? Start by eating breakfast tomorrow morning. Even if you're not training early, eating in the morning does something powerful to your stress hormones. It dampens your baseline cortisol, and that matters more than you might think. Your cortisol rhythm is supposed to work like a wave. It crests in the morning and gradually tapers off by evening. That taper is what allows your nervous system to shift into parasympathetic mode, which is your rest and repair system, the one you need for deep, restorative sleep. But when you skip breakfast, it's like pushing that entire wave forward. Instead of cresting at 7 a.m. and fading by 8 p.m., it peaks later and crashes at night, right when you're trying to wind down. That's why you're wired at 10 p.m. and staring at the ceiling. And those 2 a.m. wake-ups you keep blaming on your bladder, they might actually be your blood sugar bottoming out. Research shows that skipping breakfast shifts the entire cortisol curve later into the day and flattens it overall. And that flatter pattern has been linked to insulin resistance, increased belly fat, and higher blood pressure. For women, this is even more relevant. Estrogen and progesterone are already pulling your cortisol sensitivity in different directions throughout your cycle. Breakfast acts like a daily reset button, especially if you're in your luteal phase or approaching perimenopause, when cortisol disruption hits the hardest. Okay, now let's talk about what happens after you train, because this is where a lot of women are unknowingly sabotaging their own progress. Right after a workout, your muscles are in a very specific state. Blood flow is high. Your cells are highly receptive to insulin, which acts like a key, opening the door so glucose and amino acids can flood into your muscles for energy and repair. This post-workout period is sometimes called the golden window. And here's the part nobody tells you. For men, that window stays open for anywhere from 3 to 18 hours. For women, it closes within about 45 minutes. Picture your muscles like a loading dock with the doors wide open right after you train. For men, those dock doors stay open all afternoon. For women, they start swinging shut within 45 minutes. And if the delivery truck, your post-workout meal, doesn't show up in time, the shipment gets turned away. The dock stays empty, Recovery doesn't start when your workout ends, it starts when food comes in. Until nutrients arrive, your body stays in breakdown mode. And here's a detail that makes this even more urgent for women. Progesterone, which rises during the second half of your cycle, actively increases muscle breakdown. So during your luteal phase, you need that post-workout nutrition even more. Aim for 25 to 30 grams of protein within 30 to 45 minutes after training, paired with some carbs. Set a timer on your phone if you have to. And here's a bonus. Research shows that women who train in a fed state and eat afterward actually consume fewer total calories throughout the day, while women who train fasted and skip the post-workout meal end up hungrier and burn fewer calories overall. So eating more strategically can actually lead to eating less overall. Funny how that works. Now let's tackle the big one, fasting. To fast or not to fast? That really is the question, and the answer is more nuanced than most people want it to be. Fasting isn't inherently bad for women, but those aggressive protocols you see everywhere online, the 20-hour fasts, the multi-day fasts, those can seriously backfire for female biology. Think of fasting like a campfire. A controlled overnight burn clears out the deadwood. That's your body using up circulating glucose, dropping insulin levels, and doing some cellular cleanup, a process called autophagy. But if you let that fire rage too long, it stops clearing dead wood and starts burning down healthy trees. Men's forests tend to be more fire-resistant. Women's need a more careful approach. Prolonged fasting can trigger a stress response in women that actually increases visceral fat storage, raises inflammation, and disrupts reproductive hormones. The sweet spot for most women is a 13 to 15-hour overnight fast. That basically means finishing dinner by 5 to 7 p.m. and eating breakfast around 8 a.m. That's it. Nothing extreme. Just aligned with your natural circadian rhythm. Eat in the light, fast in the dark. And if you want to take it a step further, think about where you are in your cycle. Fasting is generally better tolerated during the follicular phase. That's the first half of your cycle after your period. During the luteal phase, when progesterone is high and your body is already under more metabolic stress, ease off. For women dealing with PCOS, obesity, or those in postmenopause, strategic fasting can absolutely be a helpful tool. But even then, moderate and timed beats extreme every single time. All right, this next one is something almost every woman I talk to is getting wrong. Protein. You're probably not eating enough of it. The standard recommended dietary allowance is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. That number was designed to prevent malnutrition. Let that sink in. It's a survival dose, not a thriving dose. The standard protein recommendation is like the minimum payment on a credit card. It keeps you from defaulting, but you're never actually getting ahead. The number you want to aim for is 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. And before you think that sounds like a lot, listen to this. There was a 12-week study on women who were what researchers call skinny fat, normal BMI but high body fat and low muscle mass. Two groups ate the exact same number of calories. The only difference was that one group increased their protein to 1.6 grams per kilogram. After 12 weeks, that group had improved muscle quality, reduced body fat, and lower visceral fat. Same calories, just more protein. This matters even more for women because of that progesterone-driven muscle breakdown we already talked about. Because age-related muscle loss accelerates after menopause. And honestly, because women have been culturally conditioned to eat smaller portions and lighter meals for decades. Protein isn't just about aesthetics or getting toned. It's foundational for your hormonal health, your metabolic health, and your long-term independence as you age. Higher protein intake is even linked to lower frailty scores in older women. Now for the last piece of the puzzle, and it connects everything we've talked about. Your gut. Specifically, how your gut health directly controls your hormones. There's a group of bacteria living in your gut called the estrobolome. What they do is remarkable. They produce an enzyme that reactivates estrogen your body was in the process of clearing out, recycling it back into your bloodstream where it can stay active. Think of your estrobolome like a recycling plant for estrogen. When the plant is well-staffed with diverse, healthy bacteria, it efficiently reclaims the estrogen your body still needs. But when it's understaffed, when gut diversity is low from ultra-processed foods, low-fiber diets, or chronic inflammation, that valuable estrogen just gets thrown in the trash instead of recycled. And this matters enormously for women because estrogen governs so much: your cycle regularity, your bone density, your mood, your skin, your metabolism. When your gut health suffers, your estrogen balance suffers, and everything downstream starts to wobble. The practical fix is straightforward. Prioritize plant-based fiber. It feeds your beneficial bacteria and keeps them strong. Include fermented foods regularly, things like yogurt, kimchi, or sauerkraut. And minimize ultra-processed foods that drive gut inflammation. Your gut bacteria are some of the most powerful allies your hormones have. Feed them well. So, here's what you actually do with all of this. Tomorrow morning, eat within 30 minutes of waking, even something small. If you're training, aim for 15 grams of protein and add 30 grams of carbs if you're doing cardio. After every workout, get 25 to 30 grams of protein with some carbs within 45 minutes. Set a timer. This window is non-negotiable for women. If you want to experiment with fasting, start with a simple 13-hour overnight fast. Finish dinner by 7, eat breakfast at 8. Don't go longer until you know how your body responds, and ease off during your luteal phase. Calculate your daily protein target. Take your body weight in kilograms and multiply by 1.6. That's your number. Divide it across your meals and hit it consistently. And add one gut-supporting habit this week: a daily serving of fermented food or an extra portion of high-fiber vegetables. Start there. Remember that nutrition advice that never seemed to work no matter how disciplined you were? It wasn't your willpower that was broken, it was the blueprint. Now you have one that was actually designed for your body. If this was helpful, drop a comment and let me know which tip surprised you the most. And if you want more like this, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.